Hey everyone, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So, one of the most powerful things that we can do as parents, and especially with the practice of mindfulness, is to help our kids to understand the concept of implicit biases, right? Implicit biases are something that comes up a lot in conversations these days, and it's not just an American concept. There's people, it exists in every form and every corner of the world, and it's not just racial bias. We're also talking about sexual and gender bias. We're talking about, other able bias. We're talking about, sexual bias in terms of homosexual, heterosexual, transsexual. There's so many of these biases that we're just programmed with. And the thing about biases, right, the implicit biases, is that we don't know they're there. They're implicit because they're in our subconscious. One of the things that mindfulness does, right, is as we practice mindfulness, as we practice, formal meditation, and we practice informal practices of mindfulness, which is just paying attention to what we're doing as we're doing it, we allow our minds to really open up and to discover and to embrace in an open, non-judging way that these implicit biases exist. And in that sense, what we're doing is we're bringing them from the implicit to the explicit, right? And we're allowing them to become, part of our conscious awareness, right? And this, it applies for children too, on an even sort of deeper level than this, because children are also very influenced at young ages by implicit memories, right? So, like, if a child, the work of Dr. Dan Siegel and Dr. Tina Payne Bryson come to mind. They've written a couple of amazing books: Whole Brain Child, No Drama Discipline, and a recent one that I don't recall the name for, but you can look them up. Fantastic books, every one of these, for parenting from a place of connection. And one of the things they talk about is, like, if a child has a negative experience from a swimming lesson. It was one of the examples that they give in one of the books. It's just like a one-time experience that the child had, but that affects the desire to swim with their friends 2 years later. And these things are very real for children, and they're real for us too. We just have a way of sort of, with our conscious mind, kind of adjusting for it as adults. But just like the implicit biases, these implicit memories are very, very important to, or I should say, it's very, very helpful to bring them from the implicit to the explicit. And the sooner and the more we can teach our children how to do this, okay? Give them the tool for understanding their own, tendency towards implicit biases and implicit memories. The more we can do that, the more we're giving our children the tools that they need to develop into the people that they choose to be, rather than just this automatic process, right? Which makes them just kind of like we were, right? And that's why a lot of cycles, kind of continue generation after generation after generation. This is all that implicit activity that's kind of programmed into our minds, right? Now, generally speaking, child psychologists and neuroscientists will tell you that first 7 years of a child's life is when most of this stuff is just being, they're soaking this stuff up like a sponge. We all have, we all did that as children. And so yeah, if you have young children, like, it's like kind of a low hanging fruit at this point to start practicing mindfulness on your own. But the beautiful thing is, thanks to our understanding of neuroplasticity, of the brain, and just the way in which our bodies and our minds and our brains are prone and predisposed to the ability to change, it's never too late. So even if you have a teenage child, right, developing a practice of mindfulness now can help you to help that child to understand what they're experiencing. Because that's the thing, when we talk about implicit biases and we talk about implicit memories, these are things that are affecting us that we don't understand, right? Like, we don't even know why it is that we're doing what we're doing. And again, the more we give that knowledge to our children, the more we're giving them tools to develop fully and capably into the people that they want to be, as opposed to, again, as I said, the people who are just sort of automatically going to mirror who we are, kind of thing, right? Not that everything should be different, but perhaps there are things that we would change about ourselves. And so those things are being instilled in our children. And then and for sure, I mean, even though it is always changeable, the longer it goes, the more effort is involved with actually changing it, right? So my point is that, as I say, practicing mindfulness as a parent, it's not so much that you have to become a mindfulness teacher to your child, right? That's not kind of how it's going to work for most people. Some people, sure, it might, but most people, it's not even necessary to go to that extent, right? To think that far into it. It's really just behaving in a way that is mindful, because remember, your children are absorbing your behavior, right? They're picking up all of their cues from you. So if you are someone who exercises and practices and embodies a level of emotional intelligence, then your children are going to naturally become more emotionally intelligent themselves, right? And emotionally intelligent is part of what we're talking about here with the implicit biases, right? Because emotional intelligence really hinges on the concept of self-awareness, right? Which is, awareness of the implicit as well as the explicit, as well as the physical, the mental, the emotional, all of that, right? Like, the more aware we are, the more readily we're going to see these implicit biases and the implicit memories and how they influence our day-to-day thoughts and actions and decisions, right? And so, again, this is all just to say how effective, mindfulness practices can be in every aspect of your life, but specifically as a parent, right? Because, again, I know I got off on a little tangent here, but the idea is that as we practice it and as we live in a way that is more mindful, then automatically the people around us, specifically and especially our children, are going to start acting and behaving and living more mindfully. And so, so this is all, again, just to say that the power here, the availability of this as a tool for your parenting is so right there for you. And it's so easy, folks. That's the thing, is that this is not something where, a lot of times when you kind of think about, okay, I'm going to develop this, new parenting style, I've got to read a whole bunch of books, I've got to study, I've got to really put a lot of effort into it, but I'm busy with my work and my, I've got all this stuff going on in my life. It seems so hard to make these changes. Mindfulness is not like any of that, right? Mindfulness, I giggle because it's so simple. It really is so simple. Now, I don't want to portray it as being something necessarily easy, right? But it is very, very simple, right? It's not reading a ton of books. It's not recreating ourselves in some sort of, image that we're going to, kind of have to attend classes and take courses and all that kind of stuff. Yes, most people benefit from some instruction on mindfulness and a little bit of, whether you can join a group that practices mindfulness together and practice meditation. It's sort of that accountability factor. Yes, that is all very, very helpful and very, very important. But the activity itself, the practices itself, I mean, we're talking about, to start with, even some of the people that I work with, they don't do more than 5 to 10 minutes a day. And they start out with 2 or 3 minutes, and it's not just me saying that. That's, world-renowned neuroscientist Richie Davidson says 1 minute a day. He says even just your cup of tea in the morning, right? If you can practice mindfulness with your cup of tea in the morning, eventually you're going to see a huge amount of difference. Now, like anything else, the more time you're willing to put into it, the faster and more deeply you're going to see the results in your life, but it's never the kind of thing where you're at a finish line at the same time. So it's not, there's no sense in like cramming or binging this kind of stuff. The idea is actually very much antithetical to that. The idea is to find yourself, find the rhythm that works for you, which is makes it really beautiful, right? And that's the best way to learn mindfulness, right? It's not about saying, okay, I have to do 20 minutes a day every day, 7 days a week. No. It's about saying what fits in your life. If it's 3 minutes, it's 3 minutes. And what happens is, over the course of, say, 30 days or so, you realize how much 3 minutes is helping you. You find another 3 minutes, you find another 5 minutes, you find another 10 minutes, you find the time to do it, and it happens organically, and it happens naturally in the rhythm of your lifestyle. Okay, it's not something that's, I always tell people that learning mindfulness is more like a subtractive process than it is an additive process, right? Again, it's not reading 20 books, it's not, taking courses, it's not, getting up in the morning and doing a certain thing, and it's really about uncovering. Right, it's about allowing yourself to be yourself, and that's where it feels much easier than a lot of other things that you can do to change yourself. And this is all just to say, again, the impact that you can have as a parent, you're having an impact no matter what. You're having an enormous impact no matter what you do, right? Even if you do nothing, that nothing is going to be very impactful on your children, right? So if you can do what you do with a self-awareness, with an awareness of your own, motivations, with your, if you could do what you do with emotional regulation, if you can do what you do with empathy and with compassion, if you can do what you do with presence, acceptance, and compassion, and keep yourself in a place that models yourself as a person that young people want to be like, right? Because you look comfortable, you look happy, you look content, right? Then, the power of that is just, it's so immense. It really is so immense. So I just wanted to share that with y'all because, again, I've been getting a lot of feedback about parenting and mindfulness and some of my clients who, joined my courses, just because they wanted to reduce stress in their life. And they're realizing like, oh my gosh, like what this is having such an amazing benefit on my children and my ability to relate to my children and my spouse and my, coworkers in every aspect of life. And that's true. But it's just really come up a lot recently about how impactful this is for parents on their parenting capabilities and the effectiveness of their parenting. And so I just wanted to share this again with you today. And so if you're interested, really, it's super simple. It's like one of the most simple things you're ever going to do. And I'd be happy. I would just be honored to help you get started. So if you'd like to know any more information, just hit me up with a comment below, send me a direct message. We'll have a very informal conversation. This isn't me like selling you something. This isn't me, trying to push you into something. And I promise you, it's not something that's going to turn your life inside out. It's something that's going to very well and easily weave into your life. And that's the exact point of the whole thing. So if you'd like to have a very informal conversation about this, you'd like to know a little bit more about it, please hit me up below with a comment, send me a direct message, reply to this email, email me if you're listening to this on the podcast, email me at art@artburnscoaching.com, wherever, however it is, just reach out and let's talk. I would love to do that. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. And I wish you well. And I'll be back again tomorrow. So take care and be safe out there and try. I hope that you're finding some balance in your parenting and in every other area of your life. And if you're not, that's why you should call me. All right. Thanks, folks. Have a great day. Bye bye.